This motorcycle looks like a straight line monster from the 1980s, and that's because it is. But here's the weird part. The Yamaha VMAX might be one of the most misunderstood bikes that you can buy today. People think they know what it is, but almost nobody rides it the way it's actually built to be ridden. And once you did, you'll realize the reputation doesn't tell the whole story. The 2001 VMAX is supposed to be simple. Brute force, straight line, quarter mile attitude, a muscle bike before muscle bikes were even a category. And here lies the problem. People treat it like a one-dimensional machine, a burnout bike, a drag strip toy, a rolling flex, and I don't think that's true. Because the real question with the VMAX isn't how fast it is in a straight line, it's this. Is the VMAX actually better and more usable than its own legend suggests? Especially now as a used bike. And yes, the one we're looking at here with the factory carbon fiber kit adds some rare visual drama, but the story of this bike is it's all about the standard VMAX underneath. So why did this thing become such a legend in the first place, and what did everybody get wrong about it? To understand the VMAX, you have to go back to the mid-80s. This was a time when sport bikes were getting sharper, cruisers were getting lazier, and Yamaha decided to build something that didn't fit anywhere. A V4 engine, shaft drive, and a system called V-Boost that basically said, what if we gave it more air and fuel when you twist the throttle hard enough? And the result was a bike that absolutely shocked people. It didn't just accelerate, it lunged. It felt like the engine skipped a step between fast and vibrant. And that became the identity of the VMAX. But here's the catch. If that's all the VMAX is, why do so many owners keep them for decades? What are they experiencing that their reputation doesn't actually explain? The VMAX suffers from one of the biggest expectation traps in motorcycling. People get on it expecting a drag bike, and yeah, if you ride it like that, it delivers. But that expectation hides something important, because when you actually live with the VMAX, you start noticing it's not trying to be a race bike at all. The riding position is surprisingly neutral, the power delivery outside of V-Boost is smooth, and the bike doesn't feel frantic. It feels heavy, planted, and delivered. It's not begging you to rev it out constantly. It's almost like Yamaha accidentally built a torque cruiser disguised as a muscle bike. And that raises a bigger question. What does this thing actually feel like when you ride it the way most owners do? Ride a VMAX normally and it immediately messes with your expectations. Below the V-Boost hood, it's not chaotic, it's not even intimidating, it's just muscular. There's this constant, effortless shove, like the engine's barely trying, but it's moving you faster than traffic, and then the V-Boost kicks in. It's not just more power, it's a personality shift in the bike. The bike goes from strong to slightly unhinged, but here's the part that nobody tells you. You don't have to ride it like that all the time. In fact, most owners don't ride it like that. They ride it like a big, comfortable torque machine that happens to have a second hidden personality, which leads to the most surprising part of owning a VMAX. What's the thing that it actually does better than people expect? The VMAX's biggest hidden strength isn't actually its speed, it's the character consistency. And that sounds really weird pertaining to the VMAX, but stay with me. Most bikes with big, outsized reputations are fun for short bursts. They're exciting, but exhausting. The VMAX, though, it's the opposite. It's fun at 30 miles per hour, it's fun at 60. It's fun when you don't push it, and there's always torque, there's always presence, and there's always that feeling that the engine is doing something interesting, even when you're just cruising down the road. And that's why people keep them, not because they're chasing peak performance, but because the bike feels alive all the time. But, and this is important, that doesn't mean it's perfect, because there's one limitation that quietly defines the entire ownership experience. The VMAX handles exactly the way it looks like it would. It's long, it's heavy, and the chassis is very much rooted in the 80s. You can ride it through corners, but you're aware that it's not what it was designed for. The suspension feels dated, the brakes are adequate, not impressive, and if you push it like a modern naked bike, it reminds you that it's not that. And here's the twist. Most owners don't really care. It's not about carving canyons, it's about presence on the bike, presence on the road. It's about that feeling when you roll on the throttle and the bike just surges forward with zero drama. So the real question actually becomes, who is this really for in today's used market, and is it right for you? The 2001 VMAX sits at a really interesting place right now. It's not cutting edge, it's not especially refined, and it's not trying to compete with modern performance bikes, but that's exactly why it works. And bikes like this, with details like the factory carbon fiber kit, just amplify that sense of occasion. You're not buying it because it's the best at anything, it's that nothing else feels quite like it. Which brings us back to the original question we asked. So is the VMAX better than its legend? Not exactly. It's weirder than its legend, because it's not really a drag bike, and it's not really a cruiser, and it's definitely not a sport bike. It's more like a hot rod that never learned to be practical and didn't even want to be. And that's why it still matters. The VMAX isn't about being the fastest or the sharpest, it's about delivering a feeling that modern bikes mostly engineered out. So if you've owned a VMAX or you're thinking about owning one, drop your experience down in the comments. I want to hear how it actually fits into your riding life. And if you want more honest, no hype takes on bikes like this, hit subscribe, because sometimes the bikes with the biggest reputations are actually the ones people understand the least.